taking issues to the courts is nothing. It has always been taken to the courts. I mean, if you look at anywhere in the world, what is America keep dealing with all the time? And all the time, dealing with issues of abortion, gun rights, redrawing states, gerrymandering, power of the president. Do we ask him to testify? Do we ask him to release documents? Um, Current controversies, which are going on. So political issues will always come to the court because political issues are never just, party politics, drawing stuff. They involve the law. Politics and law closely intertwined. So you will always have political issues coming to the court. The only question is that the court deals with it as a legal issue and not as a political issue. Yeah, one minute.
I will just add one more thing. And courts must also deal with it like any other normal case.
Exactly.
There must not be a priority by leaving a poor litigant's case to be hanging there and to hear a politician's case for 10 days. So the balance has to be there. For the court, it has to be another case. There is nothing important just because it involves a politician. My brand at 482 jurisdiction, the case comes up before me seeking for police protection for conducting this fast unto death, to make Tamil as the official language in the court. So the issue before me is that as a court, how are you going to allow people to die? That's the question. That's what the APP said. I said, people will not go that foolish. Probably they will starve for 7-8 days. So I will take a chance and I permitted them to go on a fast. Ultimately, what is important is that there are courts where the official language, where the local language has been given as an official language. There are 3-4 courts like that, including your Rajasthan and Gujarat. So there is nothing wrong in giving Tamil as an official language for the High Court. If people are able to express themselves well, at the end of the day, what is this? What is the role of a judge here? He has to understand what you are conveying. And if you are able to convey it in a language where you are very comfortable, considering that Tamil is our mother tongue here, I don't find anything wrong in bringing in Tamil as an official language for the High Court. So it's a mindset. You think that if Tamil comes in, what will happen? The way in which people speak English in court is horrible. So just to escape from that, Tamil will be a good option.
To the panel my name is Iman. I'm the first year School of Law student from Sai University. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for such an amazing and inspiring talk today. As a first year student, this was very intellectually amazing to hear about the judicial review and about the beginning and how it's going on. My question is a bit very simple, but I think it's a question that came up when you were talking about the basis of judicial review, which is that what it established is that the Supreme Court is the highest authority in deciding what the law interprets and what the law is about. But it also brings a question to me that I would like to know where the line is drawn between the judicial review and judicial adventurism or judicial activism, because we've seen in the recent years, especially the T.N. Godavarman case, that when it came up, it has been in a controversy where people are saying that judiciary is going overboard apart from what its constitutional mandate is. And also the famous Krishnamurti Bharati case, in which it came under radar again for its decision of basic structure, and the parliament was really furious at it, that the court cannot go beyond. So I really would like to know where the line is drawn between judicial review and the judicial activism or adventurism.
I'll tell you. Remember that line which says, beauty lies in the eye of the beholder? One person, this will be judicial adventure. So another, it will be a proper exercise of judicial power. You would always have that controversy. Always have the controversy. But I think the controversy gets settled on account of two factors. How well does the court do its job of deciding? How well is the judgment written? The length of the judgment is not material, but the crafting of the judgment is material, because it is a judgment which must resonate. And that is why I keep saying, read the judgments of Vivian Bose. How well is the judgment written? With what motive does the judge enter into the act? And that again is the question of the reputation of the judge. Judge Amant has a reputation. Marshall had a fiercely strong reputation, powerful. How well does that decision play out on the field? Does it contribute to making, harmony in society? Does it decide something? Are people generally saying, all right, we'll go with this? So it's a question of multiple factors which decide, have the court gone too far or not far enough, or is this right? But may I add one thing which is a little outside your question? This is something I want to tell law students generally. You all have heavy course material, I know. But I really commend one thing to you. Please read about the lives of the great judges and lawyers. Read about the lives of people like Marshall, Holmes, Denning, or Vivian Bose, Mukherjee, Krishna. Read about the great lives of judges and lawyers, Daftari. Because it is only when you read about the lives of lawyers and judges, the great ones, you have an idea of the capacity and the potential for greatness in this profession. You must set your sights high. Jamshed said, I quote poetry. Yes, I'll quote Browning. Man's reach must exceed his grasp, else what's the heaven for? You must set your sights high. And the only way you will set your sights high in the legal profession is to read and know about the lives of great judges and great lawyers. Please make that a point, my earnest and sincere advice.
If we attempt to standardize judicial review, robots will replace human beings. There is no question of precedent, and consistency is very important. But then this brooding mind will have to always keep brooding, and it has to attend to the urgent call that is required in the society at a given point of time. So what remained good in 1950 may not apply now at all. Can you say, let us maintain consistency and we'll apply the same law? That can never be done. Judicial review has to be a growing thing. It has to keep on growing. It has to keep on evolving. But there are certain standards which will have to be maintained. So that standard here, we have been given Article 13 of the Constitution of India, and we look at that and we see whether it violates any of the other things. While doing that exercise, we keep evolving each of those articles. Initially, we thought that a single article must be taken into consideration. You cannot consider it as a group. Then the evolution was that read everything. Read 14, 19, 21. See if it falls in that. So that's how it has to grow. If it doesn't grow, if judicial review is going to remain static, then very soon the artificial intelligence will sit in our place.
Let me add just one thing. Judicial review is not just the Supreme Court. The High Court has an equal, actually slightly greater power of judicial review. Article 226 is in fact wider than Article 32 because Article 32 is only for fundamental rights. 226 is fundamental rights and other causes. So the High Courts also have a tremendous power of judicial review. And it really, I think, ought to be the practice for the Supreme Court to listen to some of the good High Courts.
Thank you so much. With that, we close the question and answer round.
This evening, we discuss the topic of judicial review by courts, which basically is the power of the court to check wrong acts done by the government, or if Parliament passes a law which is against the Constitution, which goes against the fundamental rights of the people, then the court has a power to strike down that law. So that is the whole topic of judicial review, about the court maintaining the supremacy of the Constitution. Because we all have to understand that the Constitution is what provides us our basic rights of equality, of fraternity, of liberty, of justice, and opportunity. These are the fundamental rights of every citizen of India. And it is these rights that the court protects when the court enforces the Constitution and the court tells Parliament or the executive what you're doing is contrary to the Constitution. For India to remain a democracy, the Constitution must prevail. And the court must always do its work of enforcing the Constitution, especially for the liberty of citizens and for equality. So it's a very important topic. Justice Anand Venkatesh gave a very scholarly lecture on the doctrine of judicial review and the work done by Chief Justice John Marshall. And I also spoke on the work of the Indian Supreme Court in the important cases of judicial review, starting from the great Justice Vivian Bose of the 1950s and the great Justice H.R. Khanna in 1970s, who was the only judge who gave a dissent during the emergency and said, no, it does not matter. You can suspend whatever you like in the Constitution during emergency, but a citizen still has a right of individual liberty. So the great Justice Vivian Bose, the great H.R. Khanna, and I also pointed out that recent judgments of the court, especially with regard to the money laundering cases, the PMLA case, notably Justice Khanwilkar's judgment, are very, they are unfortunate judgments, I would say. They really take away the liberty of the citizen. In fact, I said that when I read that judgment, it was like watching that World Cup match. Germany 7 goals, Brazil 0. And when I read that judgment, I felt the government has won 7 points, the citizen has lost all 7. So the judgment must be reviewed because it takes away fundamental individual liberty. And justices like Justice Vivian Bose and Justice H.R. Khanna would, I think, have never done that. So there's a lot to be rectified, and I hope the Supreme Court will rectify it because the judgment is under review. The PMLA has done a lot of damage to the democratic structure. Chief ministers being put in jail, electoral bonds on the basis of people get raided, then they give electoral bonds. Whole assembly compositions are changed by. So a lot of wrong things are happening, and it's time that these were rectified, and the court stepped up to its proper role of judicial review and protecting the Constitution.